Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
It's a real pleasure for me as a longtime fan to be sitting here with Aaron Gray.
Here with Larry Hama.
We're talking with Kevin J. Anderson, best-selling author.
Mr. Neil Adams.
I am here with David Prince.
Axel Alonso, editor.
Shadow Stevens. At Dallas Comic-Con with John Delancey.
With Tom King.
Kevin Conroy.
Free comic book day.
Denise Crosby.
PopCon Pop Expo.
Here on location at Star Wars Celebration.
Sci-Fi Expo, talking for our second time with Gil Gerard.
Wichita, Kansas at Time Eddie.
Producer David Gerald.
I've got Eric Flint.
We are here at Smallville Comic-Con.
Wizard World St. Louis.
VillageCon in Bentonville, Arkansas.
Michael Lombardi.
We were talking with Alan Dean.
Quincy Allen.
Suzanne Landon.
Of Starlog Magazine, Mr. Kerry Oakwith.
Chris Sami.
Len Lee. Dave Schwartz. Mano Inkarami. John. Jason Aaron.
This is Sci-Fi for Me, your portal to the science fiction multiverse.
And welcome to almost 2023. It is the LCS Guys show, and we have Mr. Michael Tierney with us from Little Rock, Arkansas. Michael, how you doing tonight, man?
Hey, doing great. Made it almost through the whole year, so another one down.
Yep, yeah. It's still a little bit of time. We can still screw this one up, but
yeah, I'm not calling it yet, but we're getting close.
Had the years been getting better? Because it seems like since the middle 2000s, every time the new year comes around, they're like, next year's got to be better than last year. Last year sucked.
Well, I got to say that actually the 2000s has been fantastic for me. I mean, I had to make the terrible decision to close down my stores. But the good thing about it was when I went to mail order, I'm maintaining just about the same kind of profitability I had when I had two locations, 5,500 square foot of space, but I had all that overhead to pay for, had all the employees to pay for. All that's gone now. I've got, my best customers still with me on mail order. But I got rid of all the shoplifters, all the thieves, the thieving employees. I got rid of all the problems, everything I was having. I was working my tailbone off for people just to drag me down. I don't have that anymore. I mean, it's like I told everybody, it's the first day my stores were closed was the first day somebody wasn't actively trying to steal from me. I mean, you spend so much of your life as a retailer working to pay for the theft of the lowlifes who come into your stores. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had a lot of great customers. I miss them. Those were like my best friends, So, I mean, I had a really cool deal that, I had a place where all my friends would come and pay to visit me. But, fortunately, these lowlifes could walk in the door too. And there were some people every time they'd walk in, they were trying to walk out with something.
So the shipping charges aren't quite an offset of the overhead of rent and everything else. I mean,
no.
Nothing charge now.
And, the whole thing too is, once there's competition to Diamond, my shipping got a lot better. I mean, Diamond was just beating me to death. Their shipping was super expensive.
I meant shipping that you do outbound, but yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. For my customers, I'm rural. I mean, most of my customers had to drive usually like an hour or two just to get to me round trip. So, what I'm paying or what they're paying for me to ship the books to them is probably less than what they were spending in gas. And especially when the gas prices went crazy.
So how do you ship books out, Michael? I never really asked you that because I do it every day, but I don't know what your process is.
Yeah, I've got a postal lady who picks up from me on a regular schedule, and she does me super work. Now, when she takes a vacation, it gets a little dicey. I use a lot of those.
Okay.
And then I got 3-inch boxes, 4-inch boxes, really big boxes. But I do a lot of the mailers. That's mostly I use those other ones for my dinky accounts, which I'm getting less of those, because those ones, they'll work you to death and you don't make any money. But, you're just like, well, it keeps my volume up. So it gives me good discounts. But, usually I use those smaller mailers for my eBay accounts.
Okay.
And then all my other boxes, I just cut up all the extra board and use that for extra packing. So when I do use those flimsy mailers, I've got extra packing to put in there to keep the books intact, because people get really touchy. If you look at my feedback on eBay, everybody's like, fantastic, best packing I've ever seen. So people love it when their books come well protected.
Yes, they do. This is, we send ours out and it's the mailer, but then I've got a board in here because they ordered some prints. So I've got a flat board. Of course, we got the fanciness going on there.
Yeah. Hey, those things add up. And
they do. So I'm guessing now that you've gone mail order and you close the retail, is the percentage of what you sell that is comics closer to 100% now, as opposed to being divided by Funko Pops and Magic cards?
Oh, I don't sell any cards or any toys. I had a few Star Trek stuff that had a big 50% sale coming one year, and I had all these Star Trek replicas and things like that. It's like, man, my markup on them was like only 20 to 30%. I'm not going to sell these at half price, take a huge loss. So I just brought them to the house. I just left me and forgot about them. And so I did put those on eBay. And I mean, I couldn't get $50 for them at my stores. Bam, I'd get $200-300 on eBay. I mean, it was just amazing the money I could get on eBay that I couldn't even come close to at my stores. I mean, I did eBay a long time before, and it was laboring me to death. Of course, that was back before you had all where you could buy your postage online and have it all packaged up, ready to go. Used to, you had to go down to the post office, go stand in line to get the postal person to, do all that process for you. And it just would labor you to death. And then it just wasn't streamlined like it is now. I hired a girl one summer, said, okay, all you're going to do is eBay stuff. End of the summer, and I had her just all $50 and up items. At the end of the summer, I figured out all what I had to pay her, all the other expenses. I figured out I broke even, but it's like I gave all that inventory away. So I was done with eBay for a long time. Then I got in a couple of just beat to death ratty books. I mean, like a Amazing Spider-Man 300, looked like somebody just wadded it up and smeared stuff on it. And the same thing with a Tomb of Dracula with the first appearance of Blade. And, I probably couldn't have asked more than $5. I wouldn't have felt right. But I was like, oh, what the heck? Let's put it on eBay and see what happens. Holy geez, they got almost like $500 combined or more.
For beat up copies.
I would have sold them for like $10 at my store, but put them on eBay. And I'm like, wait a minute, I need to look at eBay again. It's not like it used to be. And international shipping used to be a nightmare. Not so much anymore. eBay takes care of all that for you.
Yep. That's I know how that's done. It's
People always say, "Hey, can you do something with me on that international shipping?" I'm like, I got nothing to do with that. You have to talk to eBay. I got no control over that. And it's kind of nice too. Because I remember one of the things that I really used to bother me back when I was had my stores. I'd have all these people. Hey, what's shipping to Uruguay? What's shipping to Paris? What's shipping to Indonesia? You know, and not one of them would ever place a bid. They were just like running your laps. But now you don't have to deal with any of that. So eBay is it's a different thing than it used to be. It's a lot better, a lot more streamlined, a lot more expensive. They're taking a bigger cut than they ever had before. But at the same time, you're saving a lot of other expenses and a lot of legwork that you don't have to do anymore. Used to, you had to host your own pictures even.
Oh yeah. eBay's a lot more fun for me, or it has been, when you don't have expectations. I mean, if you have something like, well, this is a hot comic, I want $500 for this. I'll start it at 300, and you watch it get to like 412, and you're like, but there's this one year we'd gone to a thrift store, Southern Arkansas. I forget exactly where. And we just bought this Christmas angel. It was a solid plastic Christmas angel. Got it home, looked at it some more, said, not really that enamored of it. So we put it on eBay, and it was like 99 cents. No expectations, but 99 cents.
Where it goes.
We're like, can you take a closer picture of it? Okay. Can you take a picture of the inside of it? Okay. Can you get like the numbers on the? Okay. Does it have the original box? What? I mean, this was like a dusty $1.50 angel that we bought off the shelf here. We'd wiped it down and cleaned it up. That thing went up to over $100.
Wow.
Turned out it was the first issue of a series of Hallmark Christmas angels that they did one every year. And just like, okay. But see, if I'd gone in with it knowing what I could get, I probably wouldn't have got what I would expect.
Sometimes starting low on your bid, you get the people, competing against it. And, they'll sometimes they'll stay a lot longer than they would have. Oh, a high bid to start with. Nah, I won't even look at it again. So yeah, it's a dance. And, but another thing too about having, gotten rid of all my running the laps, because I live in one city. I had the stores in 2 other cities, and, I had a good little triangle going. I mean, the same distance between all the stores and my home, but I was just running the treadmill every day, like a rat. And, so taking all that mileage out, all that time on the road, and, all it just, so you'd think, I'd be taking it easy, but actually I've worked harder than I ever have these last couple of years, because I'm trying to knock out this Robert E. Howard art chronology. Because, I did that Edgar Rice Burroughs art chronology, and that was a major work. I mean, and I knew when this one came along on the Robert E. Howard, like, man, this is going to be a huge time consumer. And it's actually even been worse than I thought it would be. On the Robert E. Howard one of the things that's been easier is most of this stuff is more modern. And, I've been collecting since I was a kid. And so, I had all these great copies. So, there hasn't been the restoration I had to do like on the Burroughs.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these pulps that were like well over 100 years old, I mean, there were single images I'd put as much as a 40-hour work week just to restore it and make it look like it's brand new. I mean, I was going down to the single pixel level just to make it look as sharp as I could. And when you look at the book, I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, it paid off. So I didn't have to spend all that time in restoration. The difference was, even though Robert E. Howard only had like a 10-year period of work, man, I swear that guy made a grocery list. There's a book, there's 10 versions of it in paperback, and it's been reprinted in 6 different anthologies. I mean, his work is everywhere. That guy, I mean, because he did so many short stories, and he'd do variations of them. And I mean, every variation, there's nothing that guy ever wrote that hasn't been printed. And so tracking it all down to the research and trying to find all the different variants and editions. And I'm trying to give you everything that's out there. There probably is something I missed, but it's going to be so obscure. I don't know if anybody even knows about it. But I've got a lot of stuff in there people won't know about, had no idea about, and really rare covers, images. And so it's going to be rewarding when I get out there. And, one of the rewarding things about both these books is I get to work with a lot of beautiful artwork. These are just stunning. And so I'm going to be real proud of this when it gets into people's hands. They're going to love it.
I would think that with the restoration work you've done on these pieces, the Edgar Rice Burroughs ones and the Robert E. Howard ones, so many of those pieces are public domain and don't exist anywhere in the condition that you've restored them.
Right.
What's an impediment, you being a print shop guy, to opening a store saying, hey, do you want a 16 by 20 print of
Yeah,
this.
that would put me in competition to them, and they're business partners, and I just wouldn't want to do that to them. Yeah, because
They're doing that.
yeah, and also too, it's like right now they're coming up. One of the ideas I pitched to them was like, guys, you got all these people doing print on demand, hijacking and pirating your work because it has gone into public domain. I said, let me in a local publisher. We'll put out new editions for you and send you royalties, and you'll have control over it. And we'll put copyrights on it. Make them unique editions. Put a lot of this artwork that I've created, put them in there, and that way they can't just copy it because you're going to have the definitive edition. Well, they got to thinking about it. And they decided not to go with us, but they're going to do the idea. They're doing it themselves, which really they should have. And in the back of them all, guess where all those images are? So all my artwork and stuff is in the back of each one. Now they're doing it in black and white, so it's not quite as great as the color that you get in the chronology books that I put out. But they do give me a little credit, just acknowledgement. They got my name up. I don't say, but it's another nice thing too is like I've got a personal library that I've always said, hey, there's books been published about the books in my library. Well, there's still books being published that's showing images of books from my library. Every Edgar Rice Burroughs book they put out, where they're reissuing all 80 some of his novels, they all got pictures from my library in the back of them. So I mean that's quite a.
So that's the Edgar Rice Burroughs company that you'd be in competition with if you release those prints. What about the Robert E. Howard ones?
Well,
could they turn into posters
like that? I mean, they're another business partner, and I just would never want to do anything like that because to me it's just like. With the Burroughs people, it's led to other work. I'm doing the online strip called Beyond the Farthest Star for them. I've also written a new Tarzan novel, reinventing Tarzan for the modern age. Still waiting for them to do something with that. And so, one thing leads to another. And so you just be a good business partner with them. And we got paid royalties on the chronology for last year. Well, they messed up on the split. They just did an even split. It was supposed to be more like 65-35. So they were like, wow, look at that check we got. They almost never get royalty checks from publishers. Usually publishers like, oh, yeah, we didn't sell anything, that BS because you can't go out there and prove it, the whole Winnie the Pooh and Disney type of thing. And, so they were really thrilled when they got that check. And, but they're taking good care of me on what they're paying me on to, write this Beyond the Farthest Star strip. And so I'm real happy with that. So, one hand washes the other. There's a panel from
some of this.
Yeah, that's some of the new artwork for when it relaunches at the end of January. So, some people are pretty happy to see Tanger Beyond the Farthest Star return.
Now, well, yeah, she's very happy in return.
Welcome back.
So where does this show up? I know it's a webcomic.
Yeah, it shows up at the Edgar Rice Burroughs website. And, you can go there and they'll let you, view like 4 episodes of any strip for free. It doesn't even have to be Beyond the Farthest Star. You could be any of their other things. They've got Tarzan, the Martian comics, Pellucidar. I mean, everything he's ever written, Mad King, they're up there. Now, speaking of Mad King.
EdgarRiceBurroughs.com?
Yeah, EdgarRiceBurroughs.com. And it might be Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. I'm not sure. But if you go to my website, I've got a page on there, Beyond the Farthest Star, where you go to www.the-wildsstars, and you scroll down, and you'll come to Beyond the Farthest Star strip, where I show you a lot of teaser images from all the different episodes that I've put up there. So you can get a lot of sampling of the art. And you click on them, it's a direct link to their website to where you can subscribe or see some more full episodes. Now, when I call it a teaser page, emphasis on the teaser, because I'll make up sometimes the stories. That's I'm saying, here's what's going on, but that's not really what's going on. Like you got to, buy the actual thing to get the actual story. So sometimes
this would make a great print itself. I mean, I would love to see this in a frame.
And speaking of the Mad King that I was starting to say earlier, is this is the artist who drew the latter part of the Mad King comic strip till it was completed. And so that's Sylvester Salagi. He's from Argentina. I'm not 100% sure of his name there, but because I've just read it, and when you sound things out phonetically, you hope you got it right. You don't want to mess someone's name up. But it was Silvestri. I'll just say that part. That part I'm sure of. That's his first name. So he's a great artist, and he's doing a fantastic job. And he has followed the scripts to the T. You always make suggestions. And some artists, they feel a little constrained by that. They don't want to do that. They're just kind of like, oh, I'm going to draw the opposite of what you told me. He's giving me the story that I'm trying to tell, and it's working out great. I get
some
them
of
back.
them want to tell the story, and some of them want art direction. And if you want to be the art director, get one who follows you.
Right. And the whole thing too is like, I remember when I was doing my Wall Stars comic, and both Dave Simons, who did most of the interior pages, And Frank Bruner, who did the covers for all my volume 3, they were both asking me the same thing. Are you giving him as much instructions you're giving me? And it's like I told both of them, I said, look, when I'm describing the thing, I'm giving you like a suggested angle. Now, it doesn't have to be that angle. And then I'll go ahead and describe the whole thing because I see these things like movies playing out in my head. And so, if I say, okay, well, there's a vaulted ceiling, I don't necessarily mean I want that vaulted ceiling shown. I'm just like, if you decide you want to show another angle, you'll know what's up there. So if you do show it the other angle. And so they told me I made my scripts made Alan Moore look like he's a lazy guy. I'd send them references to that, but I saw it in my head, so it was real easy for me to describe. And so I could just kind of move the camera around in my head and just, okay, well, here's what's going on that side of it. And the whole thing too is every time I had a panel, I don't write in the Marvel way of Spider-Man and the Hulk fight for 8 pages. You fill it in, do the Jack Kirby thing. I'm like, if there's 8 pages, there's something going on each one of those pages. It's accomplishing something over those 8 pages. And so for me, every scene has a point and a purpose. And so, that's what I want to accomplish in him. And as long as they do that, they've got the freedom to draw it in a different way, as long as they make it a better way. And, Dave Simons, there's a couple of times he came up with better angles. Like, yeah, perfect. Let's go with it. Other times he's like, man, I just didn't know what you wanted. I finally went down because I was describing like a street scene on one. He said, I finally just went down to the street and looked around and, oh, there it is. I saw it. And man, that was one of his pages he was most proud of. So sometimes when you push them, those are the pages that after they're done, like, man, I didn't want to do it, but boy, I really like the way it turned out. So
yeah, the script I drew, I sent out for the clock, that be launching in January in that anthology. There were several pages where it's like this, and it ends with this panel. That's how the panels are, and then there were like 2 pages where I'm like, okay, the guy he's chasing after in that last panel, they go all over the place, and it ends with him throwing a bunch of barrels on top of him and making his getaway. So I'm like, however you want to do that, it's fine by me. So he ended up with this big splash page with a cross-cut panel for the ending. I'm like, okay, so you turned an entire chase scene into 2 shots and still communicated that it was a chase scene.
That's the whole point. Get the story in there. And that was always the main thing, is get the story. I tried working with one guy, and the guy was, I'm not going to say his name because he was a fantastic artist and he's still working in the industry. But when I was getting ready to hire him, I was like, man, this guy's work is beautiful, but what the hell's going on in these stories? They don't make a lick of sense. And then as I sent him the script and I get it back and everything I said, here's what I want. He did the exact opposite. And it was like, no wonder nobody thought I couldn't understand what those stories were going on. He just won't draw what you're asking him to draw. And, I don't want to go into any more details than that, but, but he made it easy on me. Like, well, what am I going to do? I can't work with this. And then he sends me an email going, I have decided that working with you could be damaging to my career. But unless, of course, you gave me a 250% increase in the rate and give me 100% control artistically.
Well, he already took 100% control artistically because he wasn't doing what you said anyway.
I know, exactly. I was like, this is my story I'm trying to tell. There's a story I'm trying to tell, not your story, and then I'll figure something else out to go with it. And so it was Bide. He's never drawn another comic since then. Well, not a comic book. He's done other things and other illustrations, but not an actual comic book. So
let me ask you a little bit about art direction now on that, because there's a debate going on, and I know you've been heads down over the Robert E. Howard art chronology.
I haven't had a day off yet since I closed my stores.
But there's this thing out there called AI. Have you heard people talking about that? Okay. Oh, Michael, you're being for a treat here. So technology has now increased to the point you've seen probably the little apps like, hey, take your picture and we'll turn you into a cartoon character. And people do that for their apps. And it was real cute for a long time. But you know what we did? We trained artificial intelligence to know what a face is, to know what an apple is. And now there's things like Midjourney and Wombo where you sit down and you type, I want to see this. And what it does is it comes out and does that. So when I say I want to see an alien garden, that was drawn by an artificial intelligence. I want to see a woman in golden armor standing against a sunset with a city in the background. Get as detailed as you want. Here it comes. I fed it some Yvonne Craig pictures. I said, I want to see some Batgirl as drawn by, and I gave it artist style names. And I got a handful of these. You can see it's AI. It's not, it has its drawbacks. It still hasn't figured out that there's 5 digits on a hand. So you'll get a lot of polydactyly sometimes. I think the problem is that people keep saying, Well, yeah, if you don't look close. People keep telling it a hand with 5 fingers, and the AI is like, okay, a hand with 5 fingers and a thumb. Uh, and it just messes it all up.
Yeah.
But these brownies do not exist. I said photorealistic Batman brownies. Got those. I said I wanted to see Betty Cooper drawn as Black Canary in a pencil style. I can't even remember what some of these. I want to see Winnie the Pooh as the Godfather.
Gonna make you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
Best
There's a honeypot. These pictures here, my Christmas cards, cityscapes, none of these exist. I told it I wanted to see artwork of in the style of Hanna-Barbera or in the style of Dan DeCarlo, Cthulhu on fire over New York. This was the Dan DeCarlo output stuff that I was getting here. No human being involved at all in the drawing of these images.
Now I wonder how many similarities with these images with other images it generates for other people.
Well, I've given it the exact same prompts with the exact same seed, and you might get similar, but you'll never get exact, because one of the things that it keys off of for randomness is the timestamp of your request, which goes down to microseconds. And there's no way that two people are going to type the same thing at the same time and hit the enter key at the same time. And even if they did, they would queue up behind each other. So there'd still be like microseconds off. So that seed that starts it off would be different, that chaos seed.
That looks pretty good. I have to give you credit on those. Those are some impressive looking pictures. I mean, if you had an artist saying, hey, here's my portfolio, you'd be like, hey, you're hired.
Yeah. But then, the thing is, it's hard to tweak. If I saw this, I'm like, yeah, that's good, but can you make his nose a little smaller?
But you get somebody like me who can already do that himself.
Yes, that's the point. It's a tool. It's a starting place.
Yeah.
This, by the way, is Jughead Jones as drawn by Rembrandt. I wanted to see the Rembrandt style. I wanted to see Marilyn Monroe by Darwin Cook.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I just type a phrase in just to see what it'll do. I gave it my picture because you can feed it a JPEG, a location to a URL, and then say, this is the person I want to work with. I said, Santa Claus workshop. I think I said Norman Rockwell style, and there it turned me into Santa Claus with 1939 stuff behind it.
Now who owns that?
Nobody. Because there's no human involved. And
then you take it, make changes to it, then you
own it.
Gotcha.
Yes. That's the trick. Now see, there's a comic book, and the guy made an entire comic book with the AI art. And the US Copyright Office just rescinded his copyright because it said there was no human involved in the making of the story. Falling back on a precedent where some monkey took a selfie and somebody copyrighted it, and the Copyright Office said, on behalf of PETA sued, and they're like, yeah, sorry, the monkey took the picture. The monkey owns the copyright.
Did they really decide that? I remember that was being fought over. I never heard the resolution.
Yeah, they did really decide that. But I think the case is going to be appealed because even though all the panels were drawn by an AI, the human being still sequenced them, and trimmed them and wrote the story. So that'll be fought.
And on top of that, you say you just don't even use it for your primary characters, just backgrounds.
Oh, yeah. Backgrounds. Tor, the publisher, got in a big brouhaha because the cover for their last Christopher Paolini novel, or the upcoming one, rather, somebody saw it and said, I've seen that image before. And it was a Mid-Journey AI portrait that somebody had put on their DeviantArt. Well, yeah, there's no copyright on it because it is AI. You can't copyright it, so anybody else can do what they want with it.
So basically, you had two different people with the same image then.
No, they didn't come up with the same image. Tor found the AI image posted on somebody's thing, took it, color corrected it.
Okay.
Yeah, they swiped it, and then they made different colors to it because they could. It was public domain, basically, for all intents and purposes. And if they'd just gone in and made their own cover, they'd have been fine.
Uh-huh. Yeah, wow.
And it wasn't so much that they got in trouble for swiping, but the big fight is over that's a job that you took from an artist. You used to pay artists to do these things. Look,
But an artist can still send him concepts, layouts.
Yeah.
See,
if you're an artist, you can start work with this stuff. And
see, me, I've always had all these great ideas. I just never had the time to sit down and detail it all out.
Yeah. So I know people who are this is a book cover for one of our upcoming anthology novels, Michael. It's going to be a time travel anthology called Time in a Bottle.
Okay.
That's all I told the AI. Time in a bottle. And that's what it kicked out. I'm like, you're a book cover.
Yeah. That looks fantastic.
Vincent Price painted on an Easter egg.
Going to let me know. I'll be having time to contribute some stuff like that in the future.
I will do that. But I'm having fun with it. I know people who are doing serious work with it, getting paid for producing stuff.
Wow.
But the comic art community, there's a lot of fear, a lot of scaredness, because they're looking at that saying, that they're going to lose their jobs. I don't see the comics, the sequential work being done by AI anytime soon.
They don't have that capacity to do that kind of, moving the eye from one panel to the other, the arrangement to make your eye flow across.
Yeah. And besides that, you can't get the same character consistent or set of characters consistently after each render, because it's always kind of random. You have to get
that's
very
this would be good stuff for backgrounds, but you can still you'd be a tool, not an end all.
It's a tool.
And Marvel and DC, they've been replacing American artists with all these guys from other countries that can work so much cheaper as it is. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of this stuff in the future.
I say the first place we're going to see it is on covers.
Yeah,
because you saw how lush some of those pictures can get.
Yeah,
you can set triggers in your prompt statement that basically say, oh, now that I've described everything I want aspect ratio of 2:3 or 3:2 or 16:9. Render it like that, and all these virgin covers that people have been wanting the variants on because they're painted with no thing. You don't have to pay $1,000 or more to a cover artist. You can just have an intern type in some stuff and pick the one you like.
Wow! Now you have to send me the link on where to go. I want to do some experiment with that.
Do you have a Discord?
I don't know what Discord is.
Okay, it's we'll talk. I'll invite you to my Discord. It's basically a server where only invited people can come in and talk and chat and everything. But Midjourney is its own Discord. You would have to join its Discord. You can do it for free, and then there are pay levels where you can get better benefits. You own it if you're paying the subscription. So I own all of my things. I'm paying a subscription of $10 a month. My friend is paying a subscription of $60 a month, for which he gets to turn on flags like private. Don't put this in my public gallery on the Midjourney site so people don't see the stuff I'm working on.
Yeah.
It's groundbreaking. Parallel to this, there is stuff like Chatbot GPT. Guess what it's doing? You sit down, you write a list of prompts that says, write me a story about Star Trek where they go to a world populated by platypuses. And it does it.
I saw somebody post a meme on Facebook, and it was just awful. What an AI wrote, but that might have been just an extreme bad example.
Well, you can, trust me, for every good one I've gotten here, I've gotten a bad one. Now, you want to talk to an expert on the thing. George Peter Gatsis has jumped in here. George, how are you, sir?
I'm doing fine. I just realized I just spent the whole day figuring out AI, and I forgot to eat.
Oh, wow. That's when you know
you're just the guy who told you've been doing it professionally here.
I forgot to eat breakfast. Am I echoing at all?
No, you're fine.
Okay, good. I got the headphones off then. Whew. I can't take the pressure.
So you started to pass out at the keyboard and realized, oh, protein.
Yeah, your lips aren't even moving. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
you're all blue.
I'm a little more blue than usual.
Yeah. Blink.
Oh my gosh! I honestly, it's like, wait a minute. In about an hour, I'm going to be doing the show. What the hell happened to the day?
Yeah, you got your own show later tonight. George is the creator of Joe King versus a bunch of different things, but he's doing oversized hardcovers, trade paperbacks.
Nice to meet you, George.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Well, we've talked before.
You've been guest on the show before, but
that's right.
It's been a while.
I didn't recognize the blue face.
You will. It's coming. So George, what have you? Every time George learns something new in AI, he sends it to me and I write it down. Because I'm doing like what you said, using it for backgrounds, and then we're going to just draw main characters over the backgrounds and tell a children's book with a painted backdrop like Disney style.
In 2023, after I finished delivering Joe King book 2 oversized editions, we're going to be doing one book a week, 48 pages with AI. And it'll be and it'll be drawn and it'll be in the style of Ethan Van Sciver.
No, it won't. but I've drawn in his style. I have committed things out in his style. It's really weird, Michael. You can give it a combination of styles. You saw some of the comic book superhero characters that flew across the screen a little bit ago. Mm-hmm. I told those, I said I want this to be in the style of Ramona Fradon, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Nick Cardy. And it just looks at those styles and says, okay, I got an idea. And it assembles.
Yeah. Would you like a club sandwich?
Yes, exactly. Hold the mayo.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I'm excited by it. I could talk about it all the time. But then, I work with AI of a different kind in my job. So I know what it's doing, and what it's not doing is it's not going out, picking someone else's picture and putting a filter on it and saying, yeah, found something for you and gave it to you. It's not stealing art.
That's the main thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, if it was doing that, it'd be a photocopy machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it would be an artist in Artist Alley selling prints.
Yeah. Oh, don't get.
There's a lot of Marvel artists who had whole books where they just copy and cut out pieces of other people's art, and that way, whenever they draw a scene, they just here's how to draw it. And they weren't exactly copying it, but they were just just about.
Well, this is funny because one of the things they don't like is that it can replicate a style. If I want something to be drawn like Ramona Fradon, then it'll do that, and they're like, well, that's stealing from Ramona Fradon. I'm like, okay, I've been to conventions. I've gone to artists. I've looked at their stuff. I'm like, I like your stuff, but I want something in the style of an Archie comic. Can you do that? And I got the lecture. It says, I'm an artist. I can draw in any style you want. I'm like, okay, then do it. And he drew like it was an Archie comic, and it looked like it would have been published in Archie Comics. So artists have been drawing in other people's style that's not theirs all the time, and nobody claimed that they were stealing a style.
Yeah.
Legally, there's you can't. There's no law that says you can't that you can use somebody else's style.
Mm-hmm. I mean, people were stealing from John Byrne back in the 80s. Everybody's drawn like John Byrne for a while.
I was drawing like John Byrne too, because I loved. He was one of the few artists who drew a structure.
A lot of people copied Neil Adams. I mean, then people were McFarlane.
Yeah.
People copied him. Jim Lee. People copied him. I mean,
and where did Neil Adams come from? He came from the advertising world. That's the style.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I just learned this week that Todd McFarlane stole from Akira.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'll find the image. George Entertain. I'll find this thing because I was flabbergasted when I saw the panel comparisons.
Just a copy, huh?
Oh, it wasn't even a trace. It was like a cut and paste.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people would do what they call parody books, and they would just literally copy somebody else's artwork and maybe just paste a new face on it. And that's theft there. That you just
that's
can't.
Not parody. Parody is making fun and funny.
That's you just funny. Steal other people's work.
There's nothing funny about it.
Right. Yeah, and you can't just make one tiny change. You got you can be
25%.
Yeah.
In your mind, visually, it has to be 25% at the very minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so George, you see this scene here. This is from Akira, right?
Yeah.
And Michael, just focus on this panel right here, where I'm circling this corner of the building right here.
Okay.
Get that in your head there. And then here is what Todd McFarlane drew when he drew Batman. I'm sorry, I did that. Let me move us around here.
There you go. The corner of that building.
Let's see if I can use. Doggone, I'm going to have to actually click on the buttons. I hate that when it's not like that. So yeah, it's that skyscraper, the entire city below it, all the little detail, and then you'll see those people laying on the ground there.
Yeah,
that's where he cut. He stopped before getting to the people. He just wanted that building corner. He wanted the skyscraper behind him. Batman's cape is covering the ladder with the people coming down on it. The entire city below is still the same. You could transparent one of these images and lay it on top of the other, and it's exact.
That's a swipe. A lot of that goes on. I mean, probably more than we'll ever have any idea.
Well, that happened that was the same book that he was drawing when the story came out that Bob Kane had swiped Todd McFarlane for that Batman picture. And everyone was focused on, oh my God, Bob Kane swiped Todd McFarlane. And nobody was paying attention to Todd McFarlane just swiped Akira.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was epic.
I just showed Michael all my entire Mid-Journey library because he was here and he couldn't get away.
Wait a minute. Nude on the Moon is public domain?
Yes, it is. We'll talk about that later, George. George does public domain movies on his website, and he cleans them up immaculately and adds new sound effects and digital effects. I think you might have seen him last time he was here. He put his Captain Marvel up there. He added speed effects to Captain Marvel running, so it looked like the Flash series, and special boom and sound effects and lightning for when the transformation happens. But yeah, he's running them on YouTube, and we're just kind of roasting him. But yeah, somebody mentioned Nude on the Moon earlier today, and I'm like, really? And I looked it up, and it was one of the 1960s nudie cutie films where they were like, they weren't porn, they weren't even R-rated, they were nudist attracted films. So the women were just walking around topless on islands, and you know, the astronauts were like, "We've got to get samples of this. Make sure you take some pictures of them." It was like, the lampooning of it was the fact that they were paying no attention to the boobs at all, really.
Wow.
Like, yep, they're there. And there's a whole series of them, and they're public domain. They were made late 60s, early 70s, didn't file a copyright, and they fell into public domain. So yeah, George.
You know what I think I'm going to do? If it is right? Exactly the way you described it, I'm just going to go in and put clothing on them.
Oh, you're supposed to make them better, George, not ruin them. But guarantee Misty 3K has not touched that genre at all. It would be an entirely new series. Oh, Michael, what has gone on this past year? If you had to summarize the comic industry this past year, whether in sales or in the geopolitical posturing of the companies, their financial statuses, how was 2022?
Marvel's slowly starting to come back. DC's just spiraling down the toilet. I mean, it's like, don't have a direction. I said on a previous show, it's like I can just see them having a think tank of, okay, what we're going to do with DC this next year. Okay, anybody got any ideas? And everybody starts to speak. Anybody have any ideas that doesn't involve Batman? Silence. Like, do we make any comics that don't have Batman? I mean, they just don't have any new ideas, and they're just really just going down the drain. I mean, they're not even trying to compete anymore. Independents, it's tough on them, because you have a shrinking base of comic stores try to sell your stuff at, and that's where you get the advantages for independents of new venues like Indiegogo and Kickstarter. But then now you're starting to get this whole geopolitical thing like, we'll tell you what's appropriate or not. If somebody doesn't like it, even if they don't even are making it up, we'll just cancel you. And so I don't care for this whole cancel culture and all this stuff, and this whole militant left Nazism that's going on. I mean, it's just they're just insane about, we'll tell you, we're all for freedom of speech as long as we agree with that speech. No,
Yeah.
freedom of
It's
speech,
always question authority except ours.
Yeah, that's it. So I get real concerned about that. And when I'm seeing people being silenced and like you're not allowed to speak because we don't like what you got to say, and that's been going on for a while. I mean, back when I was active with my stores, and I'm going back like 20 some years ago, before they even had the internet was really big at all. Just kind of starting out, and they used to have these forums you could go to where retailers could talk to each other, and they were way to the left back then. I mean, I'm from Arkansas. And so I knew a little bit about Bill Clinton. Well, these guys were just so, yay, Bill, yay, Bill. And when Bush came along, they were like, oh, shrub, and they'd call him all sorts of terrible names. And I say, listen, I'm not a fan of Bill Clinton. Oh, my God, we're going to kick you off for saying something like that. Like, wait a minute, you just insulted a sitting president, which I would never do no matter how much I dislike the guy. But you show respect for the office. But, all of a sudden they're bashing on the current president, calling him all sorts of names. But I just said, look, he was a governor down here. I just don't care for him. And you can't talk like that. That's not allowed here, and we'll ban you. And it's like you guys you're not my crowd, and I just quit going there. And now you got Facebook groups, and that's where everybody can talk. And they can't really ban you with threats that has no meaning because you're like, fine, I'm just not talking to you. I still talk to everybody else. And
I've seen people get kicked out of the groups before, but So, I worked with a guy at Maybelline, and he this was during the Clinton era, and he went to New York, and they're like, oh, you're from Arkansas. You must love Bill Clinton. And he just kind of looked at him and was like, let me tell you something. There's two kinds of people from Arkansas. Either you love Bill Clinton or you do not. There's no middle ground, and you want to know who you're talking to before you start.
Yeah. I've had people from New York come into the stores and try to tell me how I think because I'm from the South. And, look, don't apply your misconceptions to my behavior, saying I was doing this and I hated on Obama, this and that. I wasn't a fan of Obama, but I never hated on him. Again, he was sitting president, so I never dogged on him while he was doing, president, but I wasn't a fan of the guy. But like, oh, I know you were just cussing him out in your store. Like, no, I don't do that. That's my whole thing is you could talk politics in my stores, but you had to respect a person's opinion when they disagreed with you. And that's gone in this world. I mean, they're just like,
lost art.
You got to be agreeing with me 100%, or I'll just disown you. I've had relatives like, well, if you're just not completely to the left, then we'll just disown you. And the whole thing, my politics, I'm just a little bit to the right of the center. And I'm a professional politician. I haven't declared for a party, so I just got reelected again. And I have people say, well, you're a liberal. Other people say you're a conservative. Like, well, I guess I'm doing my job then because I'm listening to everybody. And both sides have things that they're right about and things that they're wrong about. And when you say, okay, you can only go with one spectrum, well, you lose it all. And that's another thing I kind of found out was a problem with the comic book industry that's really hurting us today in the industry is you get these guys who have one store, and that's the world to them. That's what works for me. That's the only way to do it. I had two stores on the other side of rivers, two different cities, and it was amazing how different the markets were.
And they weren't that far apart.
Was that?
And they weren't that far away from each other.
No, but they were separated by a river. And down here, I had Little Rock on one side of the river, North Rock on the other side of the river. And the two communities like, oh, you want me to cross that river? Oh, that's like asking me to go to the dark side of the moon. I don't go across the river. And, so they're completely different communities. And, and I would watch things like one store was the DC store. The other store was the Marvel store. Then DC did a revamp. And so all of a sudden, all the DC people got mad, started buying Marvel. And the other store, people got mad at Marvel, start buying DC. And so all of a sudden they just flip-flop. And so, just watching the shifting of the market. And, that also showed me just, it's all about your customer base. And that's why you don't really see chains do well, because you can't say everybody in each store is going to buy this many Archie, they're going to buy this many X-Men, they're going to buy this many Batman. It doesn't work that way.
It's an art. You have to learn the people and be aware that it's going to change, be flexible.
You got to
ready to move when it does change.
That's another thing I did is I quit reading because one, I didn't have time. I mean, when I had one store, I read every book that came out. Then I got two stores. Well, in a couple months, all of a sudden I had this gigantic stack of reading. It was like, because with two stores, that's the word size. Because with three stores or more, you create an infrastructure for a management structure. With two stores, you're just doing double the work. And I did that for like 30 years with two stores. 40 years for one store, 30 years for the other store. And, I just didn't have time to read anymore, but I found out I ordered better because my bias is in you. Oh, this looks like a great story. Everybody's going to want that. Nah, nobody wanted it. So I just based it basically on what my customers were talking about. What were they excited about? I'll look at a book in the preview, say, oh, wow, that looks pretty good. And not one person has expressed an interest in it. Maybe it's not that good.
I got to go.
Okay, George.
Good talking to George.
I have a prediction for next year, a wrestling prediction.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I don't know anything about wrestling, but go ahead.
I don't either.
This is for Mike. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And if you're still in the chat, Mike, my prediction for next year is that Sandy Spread Eagle Two Shoes is going to win the women's championship wrestling soccer, and it will be a point spread of 4-1.
I have no clue about any of that.
No, he's neither does he.
Sounds good.
George, what's the movie tonight?
See ya. Charlie Chan, 1936, The Secret.
Charlie Chan, 1936, The Secret, in 1 hour and 7 minutes on youtube.com/George Peter Gatsis.
No, in 7 minutes.
Oh, in 7 minutes.
Oh, you gotta go.
Yeah, I gotta go. See ya.
Go.
Right.
So, yeah, George is a great friend of mine. I bounce a lot of ideas off of him to get guidance on what I'm doing in business. Now here's the thing. You're doing mail order, so you can relate to this kind of. You know that I'm doing the shipping for the fulfillment stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I got people creating comics outside the U.S. They have me deliver them here. People creating them in the U.S. They have me deliver them out that way because they don't want to do it. Found a new market. You might think I got both ends of that covered, but I found a new market. It's like people who are funding their comics and they aren't shipping through me. And a guy in Uruguay or Australia or Paris wants to buy the comic but can't afford the overseas shipping. So now there's an extra hop. They're buying the comic and having it sent to me. And then when I get a bunch of them for them, I box them up and send them one shipment in Australia. And it's like, and it came by accident because the guy just asked me, it's like, hey, could I send this to you? And then you just send it with one of your international shipments. I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Why not?
So we're testing that out. Have not physically done it yet. Talked with a lot of people who have ordered this stuff. I've actually got one book here that came in. So it's set aside for the owner. I'm like, I will open the packages and I will repackage them. So instead of 7 Gemini mailers, you'll get 7 books in, a Gemini mailer. So smaller package, less shipping. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about how things change and eBay and sales on there. Now, one thing that I've had happen this year, you were talking about high dollar books. I had one real limited. It was a Batman, the White Knight, Beyond the White Knight or whatever, and number one, a white variant, the retailer exclusive. And I sold that thing for like $500 on eBay.
Wow.
The guy didn't pay.
Oh.
So I listed again. So like $450. Again, the guy didn't pay.
Same guy?
Different guy.
So
again, third guy, $425. He didn't pay. I'm like, when did this whole thing about winning auctions on eBay without having any intent of paying start? I've had that happen a bunch. And I've had it happen with international guys too. Finally, I did sell it to a fourth guy for the $425. So I eventually got my money, but I had to go through all this work over a month, and I was watching the demand on the thing start to slow down.
Yeah, because that's what happens. They're hot and then they're not quite so much.
Because when I got to 500, I was the high water mark. I was like, wow, I hit it just right. Deadbeat buyer. And, when did eBay start letting that kind of stuff slide like that?
And you have to pay a listing fee each time.
Well, I've got a thing where I don't. So I've got so many listings, I don't even use them all. So it didn't cost me to relist it. It was just my time, my trouble, and missing the market when it was hot.
But since you didn't sell, you didn't collect the 500. They didn't say, hey, we're taking from your account.
Yeah, I'm supposed to get refunds. So,
but
I don't think you get 100% refund though. I think you do lose a little bit. So
yeah, because eBay said we still put work in, letting you list it.
Yeah. So, just, of course, you block those guys so they can't ever bid on you again. But, one of the things, I hate it when I see a bidder with less than 50 feedbacks. And because those are where you're going to have all your trouble. I wish I could just say, if you've got less than 50 feedbacks, you can't even bid with me. That's not an option on eBay, but it was. I'd be clicking that button and I'd do it every time. Because what these guys do is they know they're getting blocked. Well, then they just come up with a new identity and start doing their same old bad practices again. And, one of the things I learned a long time ago, never list multiple items of a high grade book. Because I've had people, well, send me all your copies and I'll pick the one I want. And I'm going to ding them all up and send the ones I don't want back.
No.
Yeah. So you just list them one at a time. You could maybe sell them a whole lot more and a whole lot faster while the peak interest is there. But because you got so many low lives on the internet, you got to do them just one at a time. If it's over $10, you can't list more than one at a time because there's these guys who want to buy them all. Then they'll pick the copy they want and they'll ding up all the others. Oh, well, they came that way. So all of a sudden,
they did.
Their inventory costs you all this money. And, and then you're paying all the fees because then eBay's acting like you're the bad seller. So that's a dinging you on your feedback rating. And, that basis of how much of a discount you get. So all of a sudden now you're paying higher fees. And so, I just avoid the low lies by, I just sell one item at a time. They can't do that to me anymore. That only happened to me a couple of times. I'm done with that nonsense.
Happy New Year to Mr. Exner out there. May Xenu escape from his mountain prison in 2023 and benevolently rule the galaxy. That's what we've been waiting. I thought 2012 would be that year. Mr. Yanafui, finally the blue guy is gone. That guy is dangerous. Mr. Yanafui is another friend of the chat who we don't see nearly enough. So thank you for popping in, Mr. Yanafui. You talked about you used to read the comics and then you had to, cut back and be more pragmatic about the orders. I remember you would show me things in the comics when I would come in because you're not going to believe what they did right now. And that would, I'd be shocked, I say.
Yeah. I remember when Storm got the mohawk.
Yeah.
And nobody believed, hey, Storm's going to have a mohawk. She's going punk. Like, nah, no way, not Storm. And then after that, I could make stuff up and people would believe, oh, yeah, Dark Annie. Yeah, Little Orphan Annie. Yeah, she's a really mutant. She's got those pupils. And she's going to join the X-Men because Professor X is really Daddy Warbucks. And so she's going to be the leader of the X-Men. Hey, sign me up. Put me down for that. Like, can't you tell I'm them? They couldn't tell anymore.
But, you'd show me those scenes that you had to start bagging comics for. And I look back at that now. It's like, I don't know what the book is. This week that I saw the scenes from. It's either X-23 or X-Men, some variation of it. I know X-23 was the character in it. And she's captured in this aquarium. The guy called it his aquarium with all these other women. That's his harem.
Uh-huh.
And they've, and they're always putting on outfits and stuff. There's a clothing rack and everything. And they had moved the clothing rack in front of the toilet. So, that built some privacy. And he said, move that clothing rack out of the way. So they all started, starting with X-23 about jumping on and says, oh, so that's your fetish, huh? You like to watch people pee. Are you a pee boy? Is that what you do? You like to see people pee? He's like, what? No, what? But it was it just kept going on. I was like, this is Marvel. This is the house of ideas now.
Uh-huh. Wow.
I knew something controversial
happened. My phone started going off. And, usually I don't get any calls since I don't have the storefronts anymore. And I don't answer because I don't want to waste all the time with all these telemarketers and, people trying to sell me all the different stuff that I have no interest in. And, but this week my phone has rang a bunch. And so it's one of two things. Everybody needs money. I got some funny books I need to sell, get some cash right away, or something controversial came out. Because I told you about how the Batawang, when Batman exposed himself in the series, and I had I was getting 50 calls a day, people looking for that. And it was all dudes. You didn't have any girls wanting to see the Batawang. It was all these guys. What's going on there?
Yeah. And then
they only wanted to buy it for cover price, because they wanted to flip it for $40 on eBay.
Yeah, I snagged it for cover price and I read it and I'm like, Batman and Constantine do not make a story for me, and I didn't get the other issues. I find it interesting that DC actually changed the original art. They didn't digitally alter the stuff. They said, no, bring the physical thing in here, paint that out. That's never going to be.
I had all these copies. Who cares? I didn't want to see it.
Well,
There's
you had to angle the book a certain way and kind of get in there.
Yeah. So you had to look for it.
I will say that, to quote Ethan Van Sciver, we always knew Batman swung hard right.
But so I guess he revealed why Catwoman left him at the altar because of his shortcomings.
Yes, that as well. Well, he got into Burt Ward's saltpeter probably. You remember that story, right? That was
I heard that one.
In the Batman 66 series, after the first season or into the first season, I'm going to get the name of the group wrong, but it's basically some decency league filed complaints because Robin's shorts were tight and Burt was stud. And they gave him pills to shrink.
Oh, wow.
You want to keep the part? Lose the part.
Wow.
So I believe it cost him his marriage during the show.
Yeah. I'd never heard
he was making the Batman money, but he wasn't making the Batman honeys.
Boy, talk about sacrifices for your craft.
Yeah, well, he's probably sitting there thinking, thank God that show only went 3 years.
Yeah, no kidding. He's like, does it grow back?
I'm sure it did. I think it was just like, it's a hormone thing. It's like, yeah, you're just gonna lay there for a while.
They didn't have digital effects where they could blur things out like they do nowadays.
No, they couldn't even just make the shorts looser or make them like the Batman films where it's like a hard carapace. Now they just it's flat. It could have been that. Nope. This is medicine. You're gonna take pills.
Wow. Well, you gotta want the rope pretty bad.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. Ouch. And why couldn't he just use duct tape? Yeah. He probably wished it had gone to that other guy. And I say that because I watched a video today, and I can't remember his name. The Robin, but it was a side-by-side audition shot of the same scene shot with Burt Ward and Adam West and Lyle Wagner and the guy who was up for the Robin part. And they made the right decision with Adam West and Burt Ward, but it was still interesting to see those characters in the Batman costume, which was a different costume, by the way. In the audition tapes, it was more like the 1949 serial costume because it was just a black bat with stitching around it on the gray tunic.
But those old serials were wild if you ever get a chance to watch them.
Oh, that's another thing that George does on his show. He takes the serials and he cuts the endings off of each one.
Mm-hmm.
Because, when you watch 15 minutes of it, and it's like, and the buzzsaw is right on his hairline. It's going to cut him in half now. And you come back for the next one. It's like, and the buzzsaw is 3 feet away. And the guy runs in and says, he's like, no. We're going to get rid of all of that. So it made it very smooth and contiguous. And it's like a 90-minute movie now when you watch the serials. And
I remember they have these endings that, well, there's no way he's going to get out of that. Well, that's because we're going to change it when we start it back up again. Now it's a whole different situation.
Yeah, exactly. I think it was kind of funny. The Batman serial, the villain was supposed to be the Joker, but we're at a war with the Japanese, so they just made the Joker part be this Japanese overlord part, and he still, kind of got the Joker look to him. He did that whole steeple chin Batman #1 kind of thing.
Have you ever seen any of the old Max Fleischer Superman cartoons?
All of them.
Yeah, those are great. A lot of them they'll never show again because of the war, and they had a lot of racist overtones, not only to the Nazis but also scenes, episodes against the Nazis that happened in Africa, and then you had the Japanese. And I remember there was one episode that was just so funny to me. It's like it opens up Lois and Clark undercover on a Japanese-held island, and so they're sneaking around. And so there's a Superman like, okay, I don't want anybody to know I did this. So all of a sudden he's hiding, and all of a sudden he runs out, picks up a battleship, heaves it over the horizon, and run back and hide like, okay, I hope nobody figures out that was me.
Yeah.
A lot of guys throwing battleships across the horizon.
Yeah, not many of them, I don't think. Was because there was no Justice Society even then. He was it.
Yeah, exactly. But the animation on those things were great. You got to just take into account, what the attitude was and at the time, and you can't judge everything by our standards of today. You got to cut people some slack on what the attitude was back then. That was to then, you're fighting these guys. We got ambushed at Pearl Harbor. We were mad, and you got to realize there was a little bit of bile coming out there, and they weren't bad people because they felt that way. They were reacting to the situation.
Yeah, we lost. Like you said, they won't release the cartoons like that publicly anymore. Disney, has got things that it won't release. We lost a great Captain Marvel series from DC over that. The Shazam, the Monster Society of Evil. They were going to reprint that entire epic, and then they said, "Oh no, racism. We won't do that." So.
Yeah, like talk about Disney. I remember I need to find it someday to go through all my old Disneys and find this cartoon. But they'd have the comics, and they'd have like these little short strips in there. And I know there was one with Mickey and his two nephews. And he's getting on to his nephews. Man, you're always so dirty. You guys get out there playing, and you're coming in to eat, and your hands are all dirty. And then he looks out the window, and he's so pleased to see Morty, and I can't remember the other one.
Birdie.
Okay, out there playing with plastic bags over their hands, taped up at the wrists, and over their heads and taped up at the neck. And he's so happy to see this.
Yeah, that's a good kid. Good kid. Yeah, JR says, geez, anti-Japanese media is covered up as racism. Anti-German propaganda is spread everywhere as anti-racism. Yeah, whatever you want it to be, that's what it'll be called.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so kicking off 2023, Michael, in comics, what is coming up that people should be looking for? What are your customers excited about going into January?
Well, it's mostly been Marvel. DC, you'd think they're with this old relaunching the DC universe, and it's just not even moving the needle. I mean,
but has it relaunched? Because I haven't. Okay, so
the Dark Crisis is going on, and now they're doing. I can't even remember what it's called. That they're where they're kind of restarting everything, and now they're it's raining now. Everybody's getting superpowers, and you can only do the same relaunches so many times, and people they get lethargic to it. Well, it happens all the time.
Yeah, because I read the Flashpoint Beyond series, and that was going on while Dark Crisis was going on, and DC was all Dark Crisis, Dark Crisis, Dark Crisis. I'm like, but the universe is changing here. This is where it was all going down. It was Jeff Johns, and there's a whole DC Jeff Johns kind of thing going on. But coming out of that, that's where you got these new books that have been out now. The New Golden Age, the Justice Society of America, Stargirl and the Lost Children, and Jeff Johns is rewriting the 40s. He's throwing new characters into the Justice Society that never existed before, or existed for 2 issues, like little sidekick characters, and then disappeared quietly and were never mentioned again. He's like, well, where'd they go? Well, here's where they went.
Let's break some new ground. That's a good idea. Yeah, the new Stargirl, she's doing okay. There's a Batman that's actually selling. A non-Batman, I mean, let's say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet, but I was hoping that it would be, I liked what I saw in Justice Society. I liked what I saw in the New Golden Age, which was really just a one-shot to launch the Justice Society. It looks like they're doing Huntress is Batman's daughter again. And since there's not Earth 2, it's this Batman's daughter. She's from, slightly into the future. And she'll probably be going further into the past, because my favorite Justice Society villain, whenever the Justice League Justice Society annual crossovers happened, I was always there as a kid. And my favorite epic was the three-month long where they fought Per Daguerreotypes, old Justice Society guy who was a time traveler. Well, he's back. He's time traveling, and he's figured out how to beat the Justice Society in all their incarnations, including the one that's in the Legion of Superheroes time, because somebody gets the idea, hey, let's be the Justice Society again. Dr. Fate's helmet's here. You be Dr. Fate, and I'll be this, and you be that, and I've got a Green Lantern ring, and then they're killed. They didn't last for long.
Justice Society villain that won't be coming back, King Cole. Oh no, you remember that was King Cole. He was fighting
Shazam.
Yeah, fought Shazam. So but DC owns him now, and so you won't be seeing the Marvel family versus King Cole. So because King Cole
doesn't DC own all of the classic characters?
A trademark of Robert E. Howard now.
Oh. So that was
Yeah, so
that wasn't the same call though, was it?
No, it wasn't. But it just he'd been published in the pulps, and you know how they swiped everything back then. And there was there was Crom the Barbarian, and he was just obviously names and everything was all swapped from Robert E. Hard stories, and that's before the IP properties was really a big deal anymore. And so here you had a King Kull who's a villain against the Marvel family, and you won't be seeing that coming back, and certainly not in a movie with The Rock.
Yeah.
So because there won't be another movie. So I have not seen it. And to me, The Rock seemed like, from what I was talking to people, there's a pattern. It's like let's go back to the Warren Beatty, Dick Tracy. The day it came out, people are like, greatest movie ever made. A little bit later, it wasn't so good. The Phantom Menace, best Star Wars movie ever made. That wasn't so good. And the same thing happened with the new Black Adam. Oh, it was great. It was fantastic. Now they're like, it's kind of like three movies all kind of cobbled together.
It's on HBO Max. It's a Justice Society movie with no origin. Because like they had to tell Batman's origin, Wonder Woman's origin, Superman's origin. Now they're just like, yeah, we have superheroes in the world. So you've got. I watched it. I recommend watching it. I think Pierce Brosnan did an excellent Dr. Fate. I heard that they were going to bring him back as Dr. Fate in the future for DC. I liked Aldous Hodge as Hawkman, but I've seen him so much on Leverage that every time I saw him speak, he would sometimes fall into that old role, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's Alec Hardison now. The other Justice Society characters, especially the new ones, you didn't have to know how they got their powers. It was kind of nice when Atom Smasher says, this is like his first mission. He's a teenager. He calls his uncle up, the original Atom, and it's Henry Winkler. He's like, don't tear the suit. It's an heirloom.
Yeah, I tell you, I like Pierce Brosnan. I enjoyed him as Bond, and although I will say one movie that was kind of shocking to see him in, Mamma Mia.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden,
did he sing in that?
Yeah, all of a sudden you got James Bond, la 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 la. He starts singing, like what? And he didn't do a bad job, I mean, he actually did sing in that, but it was kind of shocking. James Bond breaking out in the song.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about Black Adam now that's got some fans concerned and uproarious and all that is that the post-credit scene was Amanda Waller saying, well, you stay there, and that's your prison. He's like, there's nobody on the planet that can stop me, and she's like, we have people not from this planet. And there's this crash, and Henry Cavill walks in on the scene, and theaters went nuts.
Mm-hmm. Everybody liked him. Yes, man. I hadn't ever heard anybody wanted him gone. They didn't particularly care for all the movies, but that wasn't all his fault. And
but James Gunn wanted him gone, apparently.
Yeah, no, I heard they've let him go. So that frees him up to be James Bond.
He is actually
forever
because he's a big geek.
Uh-huh.
He's big, handsome, muscular comic book geek. Builds his own computers for gaming and stuff. So he quit The Witcher to focus on Superman, and then they fired him from Superman.
God knows that terrible. Now they canceled Witcher.
Yeah, well, but I guess they did something horrible with it. But he's going to do a Warhammer movie, and he's Warhammer 40K, and he's financing himself. Mr. Yanafui, Happy New Year, sir.
Hello, fellow Americans and people of the Crown. How are you?
We are doing well. What is up with you tonight, sir?
Hello. I wanted to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, but not today. Maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we haven't talked in a year. I think maybe.
All right. Well, we'll do that. Are you still the meme master? Are you making some new memes for the next year?
No. I'm done with that.
Oh.
No,
we enjoyed your videos. We talk about parody videos. This guy was the king of parody videos.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was another life, But
it's just time consuming, I'm sure.
It was how can I say? It was for the pandemic. How can you say?
That was what you did to spend time during the pandemic when we were all.
Yeah, when the pandemic was over, I have to return to the real life. So,
So what are you going to do this year?
What?
What are you going to do this coming year then? How are we going to interact with you? What are you going to do?
Oh, well, by Discord you can talk to me. I don't know.
Okay. Yes.
I sometimes I make how can you call intervention when with the strange characters in the streams, But
Yeah.
I'm not a stream guy. A streaming guy, you know.
Well, you're streaming now.
Yeah, because I can't find you anywhere, RJ. This is the place in the
This is the place.
LSD guys. LSD.
LCS, local comic shop guys.
This is kind of a drop things, RJ, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to make sure I invite you to my Discord so that you can talk to me there. We're in George's Discord together. So
do you have something? Some LSD? No.
I don't have any of that. Oh,
sorry.
No, that stays on that side of the board. That didn't come from that side of the board.
Okay, yeah, we are too old for that kind of stuff, Yeah, right. Wait, but I want to make your channel better, Views
we need
has the views have been down this year, but everyone, aren't they? Yeah. So
I've only been doing it for 6 years, so I'm still growing.
Yeah. So we have to do something to make you famous,
Let's do that.
Yeah, maybe we can change your name to, I don't know, R Joy, something like that.
Ooh, no? With a JOI, we'll make it French.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or RJ,
Or I could be trans Indian and spell it ARJAY and just be RJ.
Yeah. That sounds smart,
You got to cash in on these trends while we've got them here. Well, thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate it, and Happy New Year to you. Hope to see more of you around as the year goes by.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I like to make some sketch, and if you can follow George doesn't know how to follow me. He just ruined the sketch. It's in his blood.
I know. George will. George is full of dad jokes, and
Oh well, we will do. Well, you will see. I will try to appear and make something.
Please pop in.
Try to be funny. Try. It's difficult, but okay. Also, nice to meet
you. Coming on, man. Good to see you.
No, I think always. But I can't find you anywhere.
Over here. Just subscribe. This is what you do. You hit. There's a bell right below the box on the YouTube version, not the StreamYard version. There's a bell. You just click that, and then YouTube will tell you every time we're on.
Yeah, I never thought of that. That's smart. Well,
somebody at YouTube was thinking.
We are Latinos. We don't understand that kind of
complex
I don't stuff, believe that.
You guys came up with Cinco de Mayo, and you got the entire North America celebrate your Independence Day just because we think we can go out and eat nachos and get drunk. It's a holiday we can get behind.
It's so emotional to a gringo talk good to me. They always talk to shit. Very racist talk. But you're different. You're the best, RJ.
I would never do that to you.
I
appreciate you too much.
Yeah. This is a good guy, Michael. When good people in the life.
Please come get to know Michael better. Keep coming back, and you'll enjoy his stories. He's been in the business a long time.
Oh, nice to meet you, Michael.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah, I am Mr. Jonopfui, used to be the meme machine. Now I'm as a regular Latino like everyone else.
just back to regular. He used to make music videos, and they still play on Ethan Van Sciver's channel because he just keeps playing them over and over. Just used to make fun of the drama that would be going on in a lot of the different factions of indie comics publishing.
That's the thing. I didn't care about the drama, I just what things were happening. I did a video. That's all.
And you're very talented at it.
At the end, everyone hate me because
no, you unified everybody by laughter. You got everybody who was angry at each other all laughing at one time at your video.
No. At the end, everyone is because if I put someone that doesn't like the other people in the video, they get mad. I receive how you say threats.
Just ignore. I'll hear some of the original music now And like I was walking in the store, and I don't know the name of the song, but I caught myself singing along. Sell my book on your stream, Ethan. And
begging.
The begging song.
A lot of people told me that didn't know that song from what's the name of the guy? Polanca. No, not Polanca. What was the name? The Four Seasons. I always forget. The Four.
Your version was the first version I heard of it. And
yes,
then, I heard
a lot of people say that. But I knew Van Skyver liked that guy, so it was on purpose that I did. Four Season.
I don't know who he is.
Frankie Valli. I always forget that. Frankie Valli. You know, the Grease.
Frankie Valli. Well, yeah, he's. Let's see. Menskin?
No. That's cover. My cover is better than him.
Okay. Magnus Carlsen.
I don't know. But it's Frankie Valli. It's a song from Frankie Valli. I use a cover from him. You know?
Okay. And well, it was a beautiful song, as are all your works.
Yeah, I prefer other songs, but you know,
do what you prefer. Be you, man.
Huh?
Be you. Produce what you like, and let's see where that goes. People are going to miss you.
No, I don't think so. Well, some people cry. So where are you, Jonathan?
Well, you came in at the right point, because we're just going to wrap things up here and wish everybody Happy New Year. I'm glad I put the link out there. We got some good visitors in tonight. A lot of my friends popped in. I didn't have to say, "Oh, I don't want that person on here," and kick him out.
Oh,
so
that's
happened. That's happened before.
Yeah,
Michael.
You never. Oh, sorry. You never know when. You never know when Testify is going to appear, right?
I expected him to pop back up on Easter. I really did.
Everyone was waiting. You know.
Apparently, he's not going to pop up anywhere unless there's a zombie apocalypse now. So
yeah, well,
it won't be a thing.
Okay.
Anyhow, Michael, Mr. Yanafui, thank you both for coming on tonight. Michael will have a celebration stream next time you're on, hopefully, of finishing up the Robert E. Howard
technology. Yeah, and the Beyond the Father Star will be about to launch again, and my new Wall Stars will be launching again here. And the last one just wrapped up. Wall Star 6 just wrapped up in the or so, and then the next issue, the Wall Star 7 debuts. So,
well, when the next stuff kickstarts or Indiegogos or whatever you choose to use. Let us know. We'll have you and Alex and the whole crew back on again and push it out there. Are you going to do another art chronology? I think I've asked you this in the past. I don't know.
Well, I had, like when I finished the Burroughs one, of course you're doing it. And you're like, okay, I want to keep it rolling. So I pitched the idea to the Robert E. Howard people. And at that time they weren't interested. And so then I had to find somebody who could do an introduction. And they're like, oh, wow, man, this thing's like, and this was actually a quote, this thing's like a ballista shot to the head of information. Yeah, we want you to do it. And so I've pitched another chronology idea, but it's to a pretty difficult group to try to find your way into, the Disney people.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Exactly the reaction I got, too. And they're like, well, you better watch what you put on the web because we might come after you and threatening. Yeah. And I was like, dang, you maybe not want to ever have to work with you. And, but,
what do you think, like a Carl Barks chronology or something?
Exactly. And, because I've got complete runs of the Disney, the Donald Ducks, the Walt Disney Comics and Stories, because I bought them mainly to get to Carl Barks. But I was like, well, I may as well finish out the runs and get all the numbers. And so I've got those. I've already got everything. And I've got a really eclectic collection. I remember one time a guy was doing an article about me, and he said, well, what kind of books did you like to read when you were a kid? I said, well, I like to read, Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tars of the Apes, or Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian. And something just told me, don't say the ducks. Don't say about the Disney ducks. And yes, so when the article comes out, Michael Turner grew up in a neighborhood with Conan the Barbarian and Tars of the Apes. I'm like, whew, thank God Donald Duck wasn't in there. She's just, don't tell me that, don't tell them. But, so that's the things I really enjoyed as a kid. And, Carl Barks was such a fantastic storyteller.
He was.
Even though he was working, getting close to 100 years ago now, he was working mainly in the, started out in the late 30s and big in the 40s all the way through about the early 70s. And his stuff's timeless. I mean, stories that he was writing back during World War II, gas ration and this and that. But you read them, and he's driving these old style cars, but it just looks stylized now. And those stories are still just as good to read today as they were when they first came out, say 60, 70 years ago. And
completely timeless.
Story. Yeah. So,
all right. Well,
the other thing I like. So I did a pitch with them, and they're like, if we want something like that done, we'll just do it ourselves. And you better watch it. But because one of the things I put online was the origin of Mickey Mouse. Where did or actually not the origin of Mickey Mouse, but the origin of Donald Duck, because he's kind of tied to Mickey Mouse in his origin. And there's no clear article ever been written. And so I said, well, I'll just put it on my website. This is where Donald first originated. This is his first appearance. And he was skinny dipping. He was running nude, with Clara Cluck in a water pond. And so and when they first showed him on the cover, and I've got all this on my website, and he's wearing a lederhosen. He didn't have the look he had of the sailor duck, and that came along with the little wise little hen when he did that little cartoon short. And Donald Duck was one of the ones who was just partying and this and that, and the wise little hen, she was thinking about when bad times came, and then Donald Duck's like, hey, you need to take care of me now because I was too busy having fun while you were making the hard choices and doing austerity. So I just kind of mapped out the whole history about where Donald Duck came from and this and that, and I just don't know if they want that story told. So.
No, Disney is. I would not want to work with them. I would have a lawyer look at a Christmas card to Disney before I sent it. So anyhow,
when you deal with big corporations, they get kind of weird and tricky. So but I've got everything to do it. And it's something I wouldn't mind going back and rereading all that Carl Barks stuff. All the other stories that weren't by him, oh man, those would be hard to wade through. And that's kind of some of the stuff I've kind of gone through when on both the Burroughs and the Robert E. Howard chronologies, because I gave you a synopsis of every story in every book. And some of them were fun to read, and some were like, oh my God, this guy's just awful. And but I still had to try to give an even-handed synopsis of his story and just tell you what happened in it. And sometimes they were hard to get through. Some of them you just really enjoyed. Some of them, this guy doesn't have talent.
Well, I'm looking forward to the finished product so I can tell you to haul that one onto the screen, another brick to show off.
It's going to be like giving birth to, because they're probably going to weigh about 20 pounds each. You have the regular hardcovers and you have the leather-bound editions. So it's going to be like giving birth to two 20-pound babies at one time.
Oh, all right, guys, thank you so much for popping on tonight. Mr. Yanathui, always a pleasure to talk with you, sir.
I think you know what? I'm going to be your new co-host. What do you think of that? I'm going to be you're going to be Batman. I'm going to be Robin, but without the hormones treatment,
I'll be I will be El Hombre Murcielago, and you can do whatever Robin is. Yeah, I screwed it up, didn't I? I messed up.
No. Okay. See you guys. Thank you for having me. Bye.
Happy New Year to everybody in the chat. Thank you for coming, and we will be back with another LCS Guys show in 2 weeks. Good night, everybody.
Bye.